Today, we are diving into the claims made in the book Transformation of America. It's presented as both a survivor's story and a deep exposé of a secret government program, so let's break down the key parts of its testimony.
So right from the get-go, the book sets a very serious tone. It's not just framing itself as one person's story, but as this urgent warning to everyone. It claims to be exposing a hidden psychological war and presents this as information that is absolutely crucial for the public to know about.
And this is the central claim from the book's main author, Cathy O'Brien. It's a shocking statement, right? And it's designed to immediately establish the gravity of her story. And really, it drives the entire narrative forward.
Section 1. A Survivor's Testimony. To really get a handle on the book's core argument, we have to start with the personal account that everything else is built on.
Now, a really critical piece of the book's premise is Cathy O'Brien's unique position. She's presented as the only vocal and fully recovered survivor of an alleged CIA subproject of MK-Ultra, a project the book calls Monarch.
So how did this supposedly all start? Well, the book claims that O'Brien was specifically targeted because of a history of severe trauma, which it says led to a condition called multiple personality disorder. This, along with her father's alleged involvement and his immunity from prosecution, that's what the text presents as the final step that led to her recruitment into Project Monarch.
Okay, Section 2. Inside Project Monarch. Now we're going to look at how the book actually describes the mechanics of this alleged secret program.
The book gives a very, very specific definition for Project Monarch. It's alleged to be this top-secret operation that didn't just target anyone. No, it specifically recruited children who are already victims of abuse, identifying them as basically the perfect candidates for its mind control studies.
And that brings us to the core technique, which the book calls trauma-based mind control. The alleged goal here was to use intense, systematic trauma to deliberately fracture a person's mind into these separate, sealed-off compartments. These alternate personalities could then be programmed to do specific things with no memory of their actions later on. What's really fascinating is how the book claims this programming was structured. It wasn't just random. It allegedly used familiar cultural touchstones as a kind of framework. You know, stories like The Wizard of Oz were supposedly used to create a symbolic language of control. A phrase like, "follow the yellow brick road," for instance, wasn't just a line from a movie. It was a trigger, a coded command to activate a specific programmed personality.
All right, so after laying all of that out, the narrative makes this really dramatic shift. It moves from the story of victimization to one of rescue and deprogramming. Section 3. The Path to Liberation.
So the book's story really centers on two key figures. You've got Cathy O'Brien, the survivor, and then you have Mark Phillips, the liberator. Phillips is presented as a former Department of Defense subcontractor whose expertise in trauma-based mind control, knowledge he apparently gained through classified research, gave him the unique skills needed to help O'Brien. The book lays out a very specific deprogramming journey. It starts with Phillips physically rescuing Cathy and her daughter, Kelly, back in 1988. When he couldn't find help from any traditional channels, he applied his own expertise. And the book has this fascinating detail. He supposedly got covert help through a phone number on a bookmark, a kind of underground railroad for information. And the process ends with him successfully helping restore Cathy's memory and free will.
Section 4. A Patriot's Mission. See, according to the book, their story didn't just end with the rescue. What they did next is framed as this big fight for justice, and it's all driven by what they call a sense of patriotic duty. This timeline really highlights the long haul they describe. After that rescue in 1988, they say they spent 7 years trying to report these alleged crimes to all sorts of agencies. And when they felt like they were getting nowhere, they published the book in 1995 to take their claims directly to the public, an effort they say continues to this day.
And according to the authors, this was anything but an easy road. They claim they faced threats, were totally stonewalled by officials at every level, and that their legal claims were deliberately buried. The ultimate roadblock they describe was when the National Security Act was invoked, which they say effectively shut down any official path to justice. So, this all brings us to the book's final and maybe its biggest argument. It expands from this one personal story to a warning for all of society. Section 5. The War for Minds. So, the book poses this fundamental question to you, the reader. It's suggesting that maybe what happened to one person on an extreme level could be happening to all of us on a much more subtle one. So what is it? What exactly is this war for our minds?
The book's whole wider thesis really boils down to this: mind control is information control. The argument is that if you can manage the information a whole population receives, you can ultimately manipulate what they think. It's presented as a kind of soft mind control, something capable of shaping an entire nation's reality. And we'll end on this final thought from the book. It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it? It's asking you to consider the immense power of just one single, persistent idea. It really leaves us with a question. In a world that's just flooded with information, how vigilant are we, really, about the freedom of our own thoughts?